What up guys, welcome back. Alright, so in the last video we were working on the verification process or verifying your account process. We also did a couple more other things where we did set up the sign up page and the redirecting when you click on the on these particular links. So in this video I'm gonna work on the validations and then also um, basically the validations that we're gonna do is we're gonna verify we're gonna validate that the user inserts what you call it, an email and a password, and then we're gonna do other checks as well. So without wasting any more time, let's get to it. So we're gonna do something similar to what we did in the what you call it, registration, where we created a registration or sign up validation method, which is this one. So here we're gonna do one for the login or the sign in, for the sign in page. So here within the validations, let me just close this. Here within the validations package, I'm gonna click there and create a class. Then I'm gonna say sign in. Again, you can name it whatever you want. I'm just gonna name it this way. And then so this one is gonna be fairly simple because we're only taking in two parameters: string, email, passwords, and then from here on we're gonna add also hash map, alright. Okay, so let's add a constructor. So select everything except for the what you call it, the errors hash map, and then down here we'll say okay. So to not waste any time typing the same thing over and over, I'm gonna come in here because we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna check for empty fields. So I wanna copy this method. So I came into the sign up validation helper, and then I'm gonna copy this field here and then come in here and then just let me do this first. I wanna copy this comment. So I'm gonna remove this here, and then the first name and last name, we don't need those, we just need the email and the password. I just want to paste this comment here. Okay, so it's giving these errors obviously because we don't have those getters and setter methods. Again, I want to come here and copy this comment. Right. So here we can do getter and setter methods. Okay, so obviously the user cannot submit the field, cannot submit the form without filling in these fields. Alright, so but for this one we only need these two, so these two should be fine. And then obviously we're gonna have to call this method within our constructor. Check for empty fields. Right, so the other one is So remember, we have a method to validate whether the user is entering a valid email. So we can also take this from the side up validation method and then come in here and then just paste it there. And then what else? That's pretty much it. So we can add other methods, but for now this should be fine. And then let's see, we have to call this here, check if email is valid. Alright, so for the login validations, this should be fine. And then now what we need to do is we need to go into the auth controller. Let me close this, let me close that. So here within the auth controller, remember we have to add a post mapping. We're gonna name it the same thing. So now remember, everywhere else I was using model and view. For this one, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna actually return a string. So we can do the same thing, but I just wanted to show you that there's other ways in which you can handle displaying views and routing in terms of how you handle your model and views and whatnot. So I'm gonna say public should I call it sign in? I think I should call this authenticate user. Alright, for now I'm just gonna return an empty string. Alright, so what do we need? We need obviously the email. And the password. Okay. Alright, so a couple of things we need to do. Right, so here obviously we're gonna validate form data. Right, and then after that, what we also need to do is to check if the email exists. The reason for this is that it's pointless if the user is entering an email that doesn't exist. There's no need to proceed any further. So that's just gonna cause all sorts of problems. Alright, so what else? We need to check. Okay, so we need to check so here we're gonna check and see if the account is set to 0 or if it's set to 1, right? And then from there we're gonna proceed to okay. Now here we can start off by doing the sign in validate. Right, and then we obviously have to enter the email and password. Okay, and then what do we need to do? Alright, so if obviously the validation fails, oh, by the way, we need to come into the sign in validation helper, we need to create a getter method for the errors hash map object. So did we do that? I don't think we did. We just need to create, oh sorry, we need to create only a getter method. We don't need a set. Alright, so here within the authentication, let me close that. Here within the authentication controller, we then say get errors. So basically here we're just checking to see if it's empty, but we're checking to see if it's empty. If it's not empty, then we need to action whatever it is. So now there's a object that I need to add here. Let me put this on the next slide. Right. So this model, or this model object that we're adding here, is going to allow us to do, so here we have a model in view, and so as you can see, we pull our we use this object to create our sign in, to call in our view, and then as you can see here, we are adding an object and then giving it a key, and then we add the data here. So this model object here is going to allow us to do something similar to this. All right, and then as you can see, where can I show you where we get, okay, for now we haven't done that yet, but I'll show you. So with this model, you have to put it in and into the method signature, and then this will allow us to do something similar to this here. So let's start off by saying model, and then we're gonna say dot add attributes. Right, sorry, not attributes, add attribute. It's this one here. So this one is we're gonna say form, oh wait, message helper dot, is it message helper? One second. Oh, general string helper. Apologies, I was looking for that one. General string helper dot form errors, and then what do we need to say? Oh yeah, you need to say validate dot get errors. So we're practically doing the same thing we did here within the sign up page. We're getting all the errors, and because we are including, in fact we are not even including the notifications here, so let's quickly do that. So we are including the notifications file at the top, or just below the header, and then remember this has the for each loop, where it's going to loop through the errors and then display them like it did on the side up page. So let's close this, let's close that. Alright, so basically that's what we're doing here as well. And then what else? The last thing we need is add attribute, and then now we're gonna say general form data, and then we say validate. That's it. So now, as you saw here, we were returning the page, which is an instance of this model, the model in view object. So to do something similar to this here, we need to return the page as just a regular string, because this is expecting a string. So how we do that is just say return, and then all we have to do is just sign it in, and then basically this is going to do the same thing that this does. So it's going to return the sign in page. Right, so All right, so like I said, we're returning a string, and so the model object does the same thing as this here, as the model and view object, where it gives us this object, the ability to add objects and return them to the page. And then to return to the page, we, as a string, you just type in the sign in page, similar to how you would do it here. The only difference is here we're just returning it as a string. So again, for those of you who haven't worked with Java Java Server Pages or JSPs, is it Java Server Pages? Well, yeah. So there's a request, and you'll see that later. I'll show you when we do interceptors. But there's what we call forwarding and what you call it, and redirecting. So this is forwarding us to the sign-in page, and then again, like I said, it's similar to that. All right. So before we do this, let's go to the sign-in page. Let's just verify we do get the email, right? And then we also have, do we have, yeah, we do have the password page. All right, here I want us, well, for the, we don't need to do that for the password field. We just have to do that, and then what we need to do is get right, I think that's what we named it, form data. Yeah, that's correct. Form data.email. So this will allow, this will keep the email that's typed in, so we won't have to keep retyping it in. For the password, unfortunately, we don't have to do, we can do it, but I think it's best the user just retypes it in. And then we need to change this URL and then say sign in, and then the method here is also going to be the same, sign in. Method is going to equal to post. Okay, sign in. That's weird. Why do we have that? That is not right. Let me just double check. Okay, in any case, let's just test this part. Okay, I'm gonna refresh. Okay, so our validation is working. The only thing now is that we don't have the, let me see, let me put in John Doe. I'm gonna remove that, sign in. Okay, so our validations is working, and we are also keeping our data. The only thing is that the border is not turning to red. So let's go to the, I'm not gonna type what we did the last time, so I'm just gonna come here to the sign up page, and I'm gonna copy this. Let me minimize this. I'm gonna copy what we did. So we're gonna do that form errors thing where we use JavaScript to add the borders and whatnot. So I'm gonna copy this part here, and then just below, yeah, just below that div, so what are we getting? The email, right? And then let's make sure the ID is also email, and then same thing for the password. Save. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so I'm gonna just refresh. It's still not showing. Okay, the border is still not showing. It's password, name is password, ID is password. That should be fine, which means in the validations something is not right. Password is there, email is there. That's odd. Or did I not restart the server? Oh, apologies. So I forgot to change this part. Okay, so copy the password, paste it there. So I forgot to change the dot contains key method, so that's why it wasn't showing the error. So I'm gonna copy this and then paste it there. Alright, let me rerun again. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, now the borders are showing. What I wanted to also test is obviously the email part should work, right? Okay, please enter a valid email. So yeah, that's fine. Alright, so let's move on. So the next part is to the next few parts is to check if the email exists, which means we need to go into our repository here, and then we need to add a method. 1 second. make sure to set this as a native query. Alright, we need to go to the service. So we're gonna get it from the validate object dot get email. So alright, so if it doesn't exist, okay, we can type whatever you want, but I'm just gonna type it as like that. And then what do we need to do is return to the errors page. So we're gonna say return Alright, so from here, what is this now? Okay, so now here we need to check if let's say the email does exist and everything is fine. What we need to do is to check if the user is verified. So again, we need to come in here and create a method. And then so remember, this is gonna return an integer, so we're gonna say is account. So what else? Alright, so with this we're gonna check and see if the account is verified. Otherwise we're gonna set a message. So we're gonna say public we're gonna return to the error page. Right, so if okay, let me remove this part here. So here we're just checking to see if it's equal to 0. If it is, obviously that means the account is not yet verified. So if everything passes here, then we can move to the step where we authenticate the user. The first thing we need to do is to get the password from the database, right? So you need to come here. One second for me, please. Right. so now we need to check using the bcrypt object to see if the hashed password that's in the database matches the one that the user is inputting from the form. So here we're gonna say if bcrypt dot check password. So now we need to first place the password that right, get password, and then we're gonna match it with what is in the database. So the first input is the plain text password that we're getting from the user, right? And then this one is the one that we're getting from the database using the email. So from here we're gonna say model, and then we're gonna say dot add attribute msg, sorry, general string helper, we're gonna say error, right? And then here we're gonna say incorrect username or password, and then we're gonna obviously return to the sign in page. Okay, so from here alright, so one last thing we need to do here is alright, so we need to set the user object, right? So we need to create another method within the repository. So here we're gonna say user get user details by email, so here we're gonna select, let me just verify, yep, we're gonna get everything here. Okay, user service, right. So here we're gonna say user. All right. So here to set the session, we need to come in here and also add the HTTP session object. If I'm not mistaken, it should be this one. Yep. And then we're gonna name this session. So we're gonna say session dot set attribute. We're gonna call this user, and then we're gonna set this user object in here, and then from here, so this time instead of just saying sign in or go to dashboard, we're gonna say return, and then we're gonna say redirect, and then here we're gonna say dashboard. Otherwise it's just gonna return to an error page. Or we can even do the same thing where we say redirect to the error page. So this is what I meant when I said that if you've worked with servlets before, this is basically underneath doing the same thing, forwarding and redirecting. So but I just wanted to show you that there's also other ways in which you can handle redirecting and rerouting within Springboot. Alright, so I think that should be it in terms of authenticating and signing the user in. Hopefully we've done everything correct and there's no issues. I think we have so far most of the methods that we need to do this. Okay, so what we need to do from here is, I think, run the application. Oh wait, before we do that, we don't have the dashboard page. So first things first, I'm gonna go to the GitHub repository, right, and then I need to see the dashboard page. So before anything else, I want to get the image. So it's Undraw secure login, right? So secure login, I think that's it. I'm gonna copy that image and then paste it here within the images folder. And all right. Then I'm gonna create the dashboard page. And then, so now the dashboard page I'm gonna copy as is and not change anything, because I to be honest, I made a mistake that in terms of the design, because I'll explain now. So what I mean by mistake is that when we create the dashboard controller, for example, one second. Let me create it. So let's quickly create the controller. So I'm gonna call this app. Right. This is going to be a controller, right? And then I'm gonna create a request mapping. and then I want the URL to have app to have app appended to it. You'll see later on why I did this, because we need to implement some security. Now I can't do it. Well, I need this because for example, let me just create. So on the URL side, it's going to be something like this. It's going to be something like app dashboard. But then now when I implement some security, you'll see we're gonna use interceptors later on. I need to implement a security where everything after the app / you need to be logged in, or there needs to be a session, or the user needs to be validated in order to access anything after that / after app dot / I mean app / and so forth. But again, I'll show you later on. So I don't want it so that anybody can just access this. So to implement this, I'm going to have to, for the time being, append the app, and then everything after app, you'll need to have you'll need to be what you call it, logged in, or authenticated in order to do any of that. Alright, so let's do it public. So alright, okay. And I actually need to rectify this part. It needs to be app and then dashboard. Alright, so the dashboard page, we have that. I need to change that to a small I, and then I think we can leave the rest as it is. Yeah, I think we can leave the rest as it is. So alright, so let's test and see if what we've done so far is correct or not. What happened there? Could not create query. What did I do here now? Oh, my apologies. Native query, true. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. We are here now. Let's try this. Continue. Alright, so I'm gonna try. I can't remember. I think the password was password123. Or actually, to check the validations, let's say password 1234. As you can see, I typed the password incorrectly on purpose, so I'm gonna say sign in. Incorrect username or password. Alright, so now I want to enter an email that doesn't exist. So I'm going to see .co.za. Right, so this email doesn't exist. As you can see, the correct email should be .com. So let's see if that's going to redirect us or to the error page. Let's see. Alright, there is no account link to this email. So it looks like we are hitting where's my authenticator? Yeah, so it looks like we are it looks like the validation on this part is working in terms of the password, and then the validation here is also working. As you can see, it's giving us that error message there. So I'm going to click back. Alright, so now I'm going to try to log in and see if we can go to the dashboard page. 1, 2, 3. App dashboard, got it. Okay, it's showing a blank page. Why? One second for me. Oh, okay. So the other thing I need to do is here within app.config, right? Application config. I mean, I need to add. So remember the request mapping that we added for the dashboard. Let me close this. So I'm in the app controller. So remember the request mapping starts with app, and so it's having an issue with that. So what I need to do is within app.config, I need to add this. And so the difference here is going to be that here we're going to say app/css, app/images, and then app/js. This is how Spring Boot wants it, because like I said, it's looking at this as if the folder structure is like this within the application, even though it's not. So we need to tell it that, look, if you see any page where in the URL it starts with an app or whatnot, the CSS files that for this particular page is going to be in the same resource directory. So just make sure you add this registry in there as well. Even if you were to add like another controller where you append something, like let's say it's an employee management application, you can say employee, right? You would need to do the same thing where you would add another registry within here, right? And then instead of app, just say employee, something like that. All right, so I need to stop the server. And then I'm going to rerun it again. Okay, so hopefully this works. Let me refresh. Okay, so now it's showing. So it's like I said, Spring Boot, or like I said, if you've worked with servlets and JSPs and servlets before, some reason the Java container, when it looks at it, it thinks that this is a directory and this is where the page is, because of how we mapped, how we created this URL. So if I did it the same way as like I did all the other routes, it would have been fine. But then the problem is that when I implement security, I would need to specifically add this page and whatever. If let's say I added other URLs within here or other resources within here, I would have to always keep the adding those pages. I'll show you later on when we work with interceptors, but it's easier if you create like a URL mapping like this, and then when you create security, you just say like anything after the app URI, secure, or people need, whoever needs to access whatever resource needs to be authenticated and stuff. All right, so the dashboard page is working at the moment. Let me just check the session. Network, nope, not that. There's application. Okay. Looking for that, just to be sure that everything is in order. Okay, the session is there. Alright, but in any case, we are accessing this without any validation. So, but this is the dashboard page. Now, the reason I said I made a mistake is because when I designed this, if you check within, for example, if I say sign up, you see this gray or this purple container. If you look at the page heading, it's sitting within the container. But in the dashboard, I designed it so that the page heading sits on top of the container. So if I were to use the same what you call it, if I were to include the same file that I'm including up here with all the other ones, it wasn't gonna work. The design was gonna be flawed. But because I wanted to keep this design as it is, I'm not going to include that header. I'm just going to keep the dashboard design as its own thing. I know it's a bit of a design flaw, I know, but yeah. In any case, I think that's it for the video. We can do one last thing here, which is the sign out button. Right, let me just close this. So here within auth, I'll create a method just after the authenticate one, and then it's going to be a post mapping. This one I'll say sign out, and then I'm also going to say string okay, then I'm going to say return redirect So we're going to redirect to the sign-in page, and then to invalidate the session, what we need to do is we're going to say HTTP session, and then I'm also going to add redirect attributes, right? Or rather, let me rename it as redirect attributes. So this is going to give us like a flash message when we sign out, where it'll pop up a message where it says you successfully signed out and things like that. So this is what this is gonna help us do. So I'm gonna say session dot invalidate. So this will clear the session. Just want to make sure that I also do a placeholder here. let's leave this. Okay, and then here we're gonna say redirect attributes dot. I'm gonna do the same thing where I call in general string helper, and then I'm gonna call success, and then what will I say? You have okay, so let's click this, let's copy that, and then here within the dashboard page, I'm gonna come to this button here. So it's the sign out button, which is this red one here. Okay. Actually, I think I may be making a bit of a mistake there. I need to wrap this. I need to wrap that in a form. Okay, this needs to be a button. I think that should be it. Sign out. Okay, I'm gonna run this again. Hopefully that didn't mess up the design of the application. Okay, I'm gonna refresh this. Sign out. Okay, it didn't show the message. We've signed out, but success, you have successfully signed out. Why is it doing that? One second. Post mapping sign out. Okay. Okay, we've signed out. Just double checking why is it doing it this way. also it's keeping this information. Okay, for some reason it's not popping up there. Let me just double check. Okay, for some reason it's not working like I'm getting the message here, which is not supposed to happen. So, well, in any case, okay, it's fine. We'll look at this in the next part, but right now, we are able to sign in and whatnot, but we're gonna need to work on some security because, as you can see, we've signed out. But if I were to go back to the app dashboard, we are able to access it, of which we're not supposed to. So we're gonna work on that in the next part, and then we'll probably have to fix this situation with the pop-up not appearing. So I want to end the video here because it's already long enough. But again, guys, if you've liked what you've seen so far, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys within the next video. Thanks again, and cheers for now.